In this lesson, we're going to deal with positive versus normative analysis, or we can also say positive economics versus normative economics. What is the difference between positive and normative analysis? We'll start with positive analysis. Positive analysis deals with facts, so positive economics will deal with facts. It's concerned with what is as opposed to what should be. So that means that it describes, it explains, or it predicts. So that's what we're after when we're engaging in positive analysis. We're either trying to describe, or we're trying to explain something, or we're trying to forecast the future. You'll also find that positive analysis uses data or graphs, statistics, models, and various mathematical methods to describe, explain, or predict. One way that you can tell whether you're looking at a positive statement or a positive question is, can it be tested? So is this statement a statement that looks like a hypothesis and you can actually conduct a test to see if it's true or false, or maybe it needs to be amended or not? If it can't be tested, then it's not a positive statement. On the other hand, normative analysis is value-based. So generally, normative analysis deals more with ethics and morals. What you're going to find is that a lot of normative statements use the word should or ought, or should not or ought not. So those are very common phrases that you'll see. And again, it's because this type of analysis deals with value-based, ethics-based, moral-based judgments. And so generally what you'll find is these are leading to recommendations and arguments. So what should be done, what ought to be done, what shouldn't be done, what ought not be done. List some examples of positive statements. Setting a minimum wage higher than the market equilibrium wage increases unemployment. So notice that this is a statement that looks like a fact. Now, whether it is or isn't a fact is something that we can test, and you'll probably see this later on in your economics course where it's actually tested. In case you're wondering, the statement is true and it can be proved with a graph. A sugar quota increases the price of sugar. Again, this is something that can be tested. The statement looks factual. Again, it may be, it may not be, but it can be tested so we can find out whether it is or isn't factual. Again, this is something that you can test with a graph, and you'll probably see this as well in your economics course. In case you're wondering, this is a true statement. A tariff on shoes increases the price of shoes. Again, the statement looks like a fact. It may or may not be true, but it can be tested. And again, in case you're wondering, the answer is true. When you learn more about tariffs in your economics class, you'll see this as well. Your face is symmetrical. So far we've used statements related to economics. I wanted to show you that there are also positive statements that aren't necessarily related to economics. Can we test this statement? Your face is symmetrical. Again, sounds like a fact, may or may not be true. We can test it. We can take a picture of your face, we can print it on transparent paper, we can fold it in half, and we can see yes, it's symmetrical, or no, it's not symmetrical. So again, this is a positive statement because it looks like a fact that can be tested. It may or may not be true. A positive statement doesn't necessarily have to be true. It just has to be something that we can test. There are more than 35 students in this course section. Again, this looks like a factual statement. It may be true, it may not be true, but it's something that we can test. We can look at the enrollment number for the class and see, is it less, is it equal to, or is it more than 35 students? So again, what you'll find with positive statements is that they all look like factual statements, and then you can test them so that you can prove whether they are true or false. List examples of normative statements. Remember that normative statements are value-based or ethics-based or morals-based. Governments should set a minimum wage so people can earn a living wage. Now, there are people that are for this argument, people that are against this argument, right? Or this is also a recommendation. So because it's a recommendation or an argument, we say that it's a normative statement. It's not something that can be tested. The government should impose a sugar quota to protect sugar farmers' livelihoods. Or we could also say protect jobs in the sugar industry. Now, again, this is something that's a recommendation or an argument. It's not something that can be tested. The government should not impose a tariff on shoes to protect shoe manufacturing in the U.S. The truth is there isn't very much shoe manufacturing left in the U.S., but again, This is a value statement. This is a recommendation or an argument that they should not impose tariffs on shoe imports. You should use highlighting and contouring techniques so your face appears more symmetrical. So again, this isn't saying your face is or isn't symmetrical, but it's saying what you should do to make it symmetrical. Now again, that's based on your values. Do you think it's important that someone's face be symmetrical, right? If you do, then maybe you're going to use these techniques. So again, this is based on what you think is important. The university should strive to keep class enrollments below 35 students. Again, this is value-based. Do you think classes should be kept small in terms of enrollment? Again, this is a value-based recommendation. It depends on what's important to you. Now, one thing you'll notice with all of these statements is that they all use the word should. Anytime you see the word should in a statement, it's probably going to be a normative statement because it's making a recommendation or an argument that something should be a certain way. But again, not something that we can test. So we can't actually test any of these statements with data.